those of you who don't know me, my name is Sister Elizabeth. I'm a daughter of Charity of St. Vincent de Paul. I, not too long ago, worked at Family Advancement Ministry, the little building right up here that works with women and children. And I'm now the director of Daybreak, which is a new center for the homeless. It's a day center for people who are homeless downtown. So that's what I do. I live at St. Peter Claver. But I worship at any Catholic church I can find, basically. So I'm here sometimes and I'm over there sometimes. I have to be perfectly honest, on a Sunday morning, it's a lot easier to roll out of bed and go to Peter Claver than it is to fight the parking spaces over here. So I tend to go to Peter Claver more. But I've done a few talks here with the RCIA groups over the years, and my usual talk, the one that Father usually asks me to do, is the one on social justice. And Father usually says that I'm the only Northern liberal he would allow to speak in front of your RCIA class. And I usually say that, and it's on tape so he knows what he's getting. But I promise not to shock you. But it is true, I am from Boston. It won't take you very long to figure out I'm not from Macon. I'm not from anywhere south of the Mason-Dixon line. I am from Boston, and that's where I grew up, and that's where I was raised. And if you know anything about Boston, you know that everybody is Catholic in Boston. Even if you're not, you say you are, because it's hard to find a church that's not Catholic. So for me, it's always exciting to speak to a group of people who are in their adult life considering coming to the church. A church that I have loved my whole life, that I have abandoned parts of my life, as many of us cradle Catholics have done, walked away, a church that I've grown to love again, and a church that has absolutely made me who I am today. I've been a daughter of Charity for 15 years, so for anyone who's thinking there's no life and vocation, I was not 20 when I came, so it's a church where we all can find our place. And one of the things I find the strongest about our church is that what we believe, we believe. We all believe it. Whether we all follow it is another thing, but we all believe it. We know what the rules are. We know what we are supposed to do. But because we are also a church that allows for the areas of forgiveness, there are times when we do things like walk away. You know, we say, I'm going to look at something else. The church always welcomes us back. Which is just such an amazing thing to me. And that when you're welcome back, it's the church you left. You know, and if you go to the church in another country, or you go to a church in another state, and you don't even know the language, you can figure out where they are, you know, because it's pretty much the same no matter where you go. So there's a solidity to that. There's a unifying. It's Catholic. It's universal. We all get it. We all believe it. So when I see adults entering into that, I think this is so exciting, because unlike those of us who are cradle Catholics who just believe it because we were just always believing it, and it's kind of part of our DNA, when you enter in, you know, I hope you know this, you challenge us. You really challenge us to have to look deeper into our faith, because you ask us questions like, why? But I don't know that everybody believes that, do they? You know, I have some friends and I don't think they believe that. So we always struggle. So that's why these classes are important. And I have to be honest, when I sat down with the topics for tonight, I realized that Father McDonald and Father David left me with a powder keg of topics. Because these topics, when we talk about the 10 Commandments, thou shalt not kill, we often think that means, probably when Moses was talking about this, it probably meant murder in some way, shape, or form. I don't think Moses thought very much about stem cell research. You know, I don't think that Moses did. Now, of course, God knew what thou shalt not kill would mean. And I'm sure now we know that, unfortunately, human beings are creative enough, ingenious enough, and sometimes evil enough to find other ways that we can't even imagine yet. So a simple command like thou shalt not kill will expand, I'm sure, in our lifetime. That's the sad side of it. The side of it that we can talk about, the side that we can take some control over, is that we can stand up as a church, which we have to do now, to stand up as a church and say, enough, enough. It's enough. We can't do this to each other anymore. We can't continue to just challenge this commandment over and over again. It's a simple one. It's a simple one. Thou shalt not kill. So we're going to talk about these tonight. Have you all read it in your books? Is that how it works? You read it ahead of time and then come in and someone talks about it, right? Right. Yeah, I know. Reading, you kind of say, well, this is really interesting. Were there any, I just want to ask, were there any that you kind of went, whoa, I didn't know we thought that? Other, and it's okay if you've been a cradle Catholic and you thought that too, Anybody, was any one of them you said, huh, that's interesting? Yes. In vitro. Okay, so you didn't really, did you know that it would even be in the list? Okay. And then did you understand it when you read it? Not really. Okay. All right. Well, that's good. So we're going to talk about each, but it's good to know. So in vitro was kind of one that you went, not so sure about that one. Any other ones that you said, I'm not sure I thought the church thought that? No? Did you get all of them? You're all looking at me like, what's she talking about? You didn't read it, right? I wasn't going to say that. I wasn't going to say, because we're on tape, that maybe they didn't read them all. So you might be in for a shock tonight at some of the things the church says about these things. Well, we start, if you didn't, okay, I'll see if you read. Who can tell me who the almost saint was that they featured at the beginning of the chapter? Dorothy Day. Okay, very good. I have to tell you that Dorothy Day is like my most favorite human being that ever walked the planet. She is just an amazing woman. She also was a very tough lady. And, if you know anything, if you read anything about her at the beginning of the chapter you were supposed to read for tonight, you would know that she was at one point a communist. She was pretty much not a woman of faith, although I take that back. She was a woman of faith in a world that didn't value faith. She grew up in a home that was not particularly a church-going place, but she had experiences in the Episcopalian church. She had friends who were Catholic. She kind of filtered in and out of it, but always had a kind of attraction to the Catholic faith, the ritual of it, and again, what she believed to be what all Catholics believe, that sense of faith. As she grew up, she joined the communist movement in the 1920s and became quite a radical. She hung out with Eugene O'Neill, and she was kind of a loose woman, we would say. In our days now, we would kind of question. If any of you know anything about her life, you know that she got pregnant out of wedlock and had an abortion. And that might be the reason why she doesn't become a saint in some ways. But in the process of her life, she continued to seek God's help, even when everyone around her told her she was a fool. Something in her kept praying, something in her kept praying, something in her kept praying about just trying to find the holiness that was within. And when she was able to finally capture that, the grief and the regret that she felt about her abortion was deep and real and life-changing. And when she got pregnant a second time, and the father of the baby said, no commitments, you can have it if you want it, but there's no big deal, she was like, this is it. I have to make a commitment. I have to make a life for this child, because she understood that the life of this child depended on her, that she had to respect the life of this child that she brought